All right, a very good day to you, my lovely viewers and subscribers from all over the world. You are welcome to another great episode on your favorite political talk show, The Truth with Ben Jokes. Now, the situation of this country is so terrible to the point that people from other parts of the world are wondering how a country with over 200 million people have allowed just a few monsters in human clothing to greatly impoverish them. Nigeria remains one of the biggest oil producing nations in the world, yet the government, especially under the APC, have come out to tell Nigerians that unlike other oil producing nations of the world, they will not subsidize education, energy, or health for Nigerians. Yet, these same so-called leaders have every single endeavor of their lives paid for from public purse, even after they leave office. And it is shocking how these politicians still walk free amongst us. Few months ago, Kashim Shettima at a public function told a story of how his friend, another politician, was attacked by a group of young Nigerians. Shettima said this politician, his wife, and two of his kids were surrounded in their car in a traffic by those youths, and the youths told them, "You are enjoying while we are suffering, right? We are coming for you." And Shettima went ahead to warn that if governance does not improve in Nigeria, that the anger of the people might soon swallow politicians up. And most Nigerians knew that Shettima was taking a dig at the Lagos boys surrounding TINUBU, who have sidelined him and are now looting the nation's treasury alone. But some APC defenders came out and said, no, that is not the case. He was just talking generally. He was not referring to the TINUBU camp. Who else was he referring to? TINUBU is in power and Shettima is talking about bad governance in Nigeria. But the APC boys would not let us speak. Now, Shettima has smashed that table of doubt by again going to New York to talk about bad governance. And once again, Shettima is worried that the people might reject democracy very soon with the way things are going. Before I show you how he said it and how Nigerians reacted, let me quickly show you this video. The female soldier who was sexually harassed by that top army officer has finally left the Nigerian army, with the army claiming that she is mentally challenged. But in this video, the lady, ex-private officer Ruth, defended herself. She said she was actually harassed, that nothing is wrong with her mentally. The video is so painful to watch, but I just had to put it here. See the video.
Yesterday, the Nigerian army had come out to say that the senior officers that were involved in this case are innocent and that you're suffering from mental issues or you're mentally unstable. But what is your own side of the story?
Thank you very much for this great privilege, this great opportunity. What really happened yesterday was just a cook-up story, just a planned work. Myself and Abu Karim, we are in this, Abu Karim, we are in the same unit. He was my CO.
What unit is this?
NACMC Ojo, okay. Nigerian Army Cantonment Medical Center Ojo, where he was my CO. Colonel Abu Karim asked me to sleep with him at Eagle Store Hotel at about 700 hours p.m. He asked me to sleep with him, which I refused.
What day was this?
On Sunday. On 27th February 2022. So he called me to sleep with him, which I was very, very surprised. And army is against it. In the army, it's called fraternization. It's a big offense in the army, which I refused to sleep with him because he's my superior. Ever since then, Colonel Abu Karim will inject me with Lacati injection, put me inside caskets, popularly called body bag in the army. He will harass me, rape me, and at the end of the day, he will throw me inside psychiatric hospital to make it look as if what he is saying is true.
So, hold on. Where does this rape happen? And putting you in a body bag. When did all of this happen? And give me more details about it.
This whole thing happened in our unit, Cantonment Medical Center, Ojo there. I have witness.
Was this in his office or
inside his
outside?
office? Inside the office, with uniform. Most time he will instruct soldiers to pin me down while they give me Lactating injection.
All right, let's just stop here, please, my dear viewers. Pardon me, I can't exceed this point with this video because it is painful to watch. The interview actually lasted 16 minutes. She called the names of all the top military men she reported this case to, and they all did nothing. So she had to go to social media. She actually went to TikTok to make that video that went viral. The lady is mentally sound. You can hear her. You could see there is nothing wrong with her. I expect all the human rights groups in this country to get to work. I will be making contacts myself. This matter must not be swept under the carpet just like that. The fact that a lady in her right senses was adjudged by the military to be mentally ill speaks volume. And most importantly, her life must be protected, because now that she's going to the mainstream media to grant interviews, these guys might want to come for her. So her life must be protected. We are going to be talking to some human rights firms, to make sure that that happens. This matter must be properly unraveled. And I believe she's not the only one. There will be many ladies in the military going through something similar as this. This is very, very dehumanizing. And look at how Nigerians reacted. Let's take some of the tweet reactions. This tweet here by me says, "Now that Ruth has been discharged from the military service, I expect the National Assembly, human rights lawyers, NGOs, etc. to call for an independent, objective inquiry into the matter. Whatever the army did is clearly against the principle of natural justice of being a judge in one's own case." That is it. There was no way she was ever going to get justice, with the army sitting on any kind of panel. So it is now time for the matter to be properly investigated, because she's now a private individual. And this tweet here by Davon Prince says, "A woman that speaks like this is considered mentally unstable. Haba, now she's out of the uniform. Let the human rights movement and civil society organizations, Ministry of Women Affairs, should step in and seek justice for this young Nigerian." That is it. This matter must not be taken lightly. And Daily Justice here says, "It is the army personnel that are mad, not this lady. The army cannot be trusted. They are unprofessional. They are uncultured. They are the lowest animals in Nigeria. This lady deserves independent investigation. She is brave and uncowed. Trust the army at your own peril. Hashtag damn, hashtag army, hashtag Nigeria, hashtag criminals." And Chukstin here says, "Only in Nigeria, those whose duty it is to enforce the law are the ones breaking them." And Oduwole replied, he said, "This happens all over the world. The difference is that in Nigeria, there is no consequence. Crime is universal, but justice and accountability are better in some countries and almost non-existent in Nigeria." What a shame. Now, let us take that update from Shettima. And I must confess, this is one of the most shocking speeches I have heard from a Nigerian in my life. In this speech, Shettima was almost saying that democracy had failed in Nigeria. He said the people will soon lose hope in democracy. And he was almost calling on the United Nations to come and take over, because he was asking them to provide security and other basic things that he and TINUBU should be providing. Look at how the papers reported it. "Citizens will question usefulness of democracy when government fails to give them good lives," Shettima tells UN Assembly. Kashim Shettima has said citizens will start doubting the usefulness and legitimacy of democracy if government keeps failing to provide them with good lives. Shettima said this in his speech on Tuesday at the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, stating that democratic principles are bound to fail if governments refuse to solve socio-economic challenges in any country, particularly in Africa. Shettima emphasized that there is a need for the United Nations to show serious commitment towards ending insecurity, poverty, and human rights abuses. He said, "Our people need employment, they need decent livelihoods, they desire good and affordable education and health care for their children and families. They need to live in healthy, safe, and secure environments. They need hope and they need opportunity. They desire to live in peace and tranquility, to pursue whatever gives them happiness and contentment. When government fails to deliver, the people are bound to question the utility of democracy and other ideals like rule of law." He said, "Yet, we always recoil from bringing out the resources we need to build peace and to deliver life's necessities to people. The question of governance is at the heart of our problems and also the solution to them." Wow, wow. Shettima has once again complained about governance in Nigeria and Africa. And as I speak, Tinubu's camp is boiling over that speech made by Shettima. You heard how he was telling the United Nations that his people, our people, Nigerians, need security. We need good health care. We need quality education. We need to live in peace and tranquility, going about our businesses. All these are things that Tinubu should be providing. But Shettima has gone to ask the United Nations to come and provide them for Nigeria. And that is a clear admittance that the current government cannot provide it. It's a clear admittance of failure by Shettima. And look at how Nigerians reacted. Let's take some of the tweet reactions. This tweet here by Mila says, "Tinubu won't be happy with this statement from his vice because this is exactly what is happening here in Nigeria." Of course, he is not happy, and the entire Bat camp is unhappy because many people have been tagging Bayo Onanuga to the statement and he has not been able to respond. There is no way you can spin around this statement. Shettima was clearly saying one thing and he was admitting that the regime had clearly failed. And this tweet here says, "It be like this man has forgotten he is vice president and the government he is part of isn't giving the citizens a good life." Well, he very well remembers. And his speech here gives credence to those who are saying that he has been sidelined. I think this is very, very clear. There is no debate. Because if he was working with them, he should have been talking about the reforms. Because everywhere they go, the Bayo Onanugas, the Gbajabia Millers, and the Tinubus and all, they talk about their reforms. And this guy went to United Nations General Assembly. One would expect him to begin to talk about how lofty their reforms are, but he didn't even mention anything about that. He's talking about the setback that the nation is facing. Of course, he is right. Everything he said is true, but what does it point at? It points at the fact that there is heavy crisis in Aso Rock. There is heavy disagreement in the APC camp. And this tweet here by Martin says, "Admittance of failure. Because Nigerians are already asking the APC and Tinubu governments the question: insecurity, poor infrastructure, hunger, inflation, no water, no light, and general poor living condition. Nigerians are asking, why do they have the government in place?" That is it. And I think Shettima knows what he's doing. It's not as if he's any better. I am just excited that these people are not in good terms. Because with the way things are going, the APC will have to self-destruct. They will have to destroy themselves from the inside. Because these guys just have to go for this country to ever move forward. And this video by me says, well, this is exactly where Nigerian citizens are at the moment. They are questioning the usefulness of their democratic governance and wondering if military intervention is not a better option than the unpatriotic and unscrupulous crop of corrupt political leaders at the helm. There you have it. This is coming from Shettima himself. So to all those APC supporters who are hoping to see this administration turn things around, here is the #2 man begging the United Nations to come over to Nigeria and begin carrying out duties that Tinubu should be carrying out. The nation is sinking. As we speak, ASU is warming up to go on an indefinite strike. They said the deadlines that the Tinubu regime gave to meet about 5 demands have all elapsed, and none, not even one of the demands, has been met. Remember that we already have serious trouble with the school fees at the primary and secondary levels, and the trouble has left many students and pupils out of school. Many of them are sitting at home now. And now the university students are about to go and join them when they go on strike. So they want to place the educational sector on hold. When you go to the health sector, it is the same thing. Doctors are running out of Nigeria. The ones that are staying back, they owe them salaries. They owe them allowances. They don't even have facilities to work. Just a few days ago, the army came out crying. And it is not just soldiers. Before you say that these are just recruits, they don't know what they are saying, they are drunk. The chief of army staff himself came out to say that the army is not properly funded. First of all, he said the number is not enough because due to political reasons, they just post them anyhow. One senator can ask for 50 soldiers and you are just depleting the numbers that should be fighting insurgency. And they are not well equipped to fight insurgency. That is what is happening in that sector. And just hours ago, NNPC has come out to say that, listen, they cannot supply enough crude oil to Dangote refinery because Buhari took loans up front with Nigeria crude oil. So this thing that they have been saying as rumors, the NNPC has come out to confirm it. That look, we don't have crude oil to supply to this man. So those of you that are thinking that maybe the price of petrol may crash later as the year goes on, you should expect an increase instead. Because even the one they are supplying now, after a while, they will not be able to supply again. After a while, Dangote will not be able to receive as much crude as he is receiving now, that they are complaining that is not even enough. That is the situation that we are in this country. Then, if you are telling me that Buhari took loans ahead with Nigeria's crude oil and that Buhari is still seated there, why has he not been summoned to come and explain himself? We have an Ahmed Lawan who was the Senate president under Buhari. He is still sitting there free. Why has he not been summoned? Only Emefiele is the one that they are carrying up and down as if he's the only one that created the crime. This is so shameful that we can see criminals like this staring us in the face. You are telling us that we shouldn't blame you, that it is the actions of these people that are causing us pain. But these people are still here and you cannot prosecute them. How does that make sense? Well, it makes perfect sense. You won't dare prosecute them because the same path that they followed to loot the treasury is the same path that you are also following. We hear that CBN Governor Yemi Cardoso is already printing monies the same way Emefiele printed money. And all the loans they are taking that Buhari took to embezzle, that is the same thing these guys are doing. As a matter of fact, SHETTIMA is already begging world leaders to pardon them, to forgive the loans that they took, because there is no plan to pay back. So how can you even say you want to probe Buhari when you are planning to do the same thing and even do worse? But in all these, I keep saying that these guys, over 90% of Nigerians, will do the same thing that they are doing once they know that there will be no consequences. If you know that you can just come loot the treasury, take whatever you want to take and nothing will happen, then why won't you steal it? Buhari has done his own, he has gone. The guys in power now are looting their own. When they finish looting, they will go. The next person will come, he will loot, he will go. And who are those that will suffer? Who are the people bearing the brunt? It is the common man, you and I. And that is why I keep telling Nigerians, since you are the ones bearing the brunt, why not come together and say enough is enough? Thankfully, you have the number. All the people that have been causing problems in this country since independence, if we add all of them together, they are not up to 100,000 people. And this is a country of over 200 million people. We have the number, but we have allowed ourselves to be divided by aboriginal sentiments, tribe, religion, things that don't make sense. And that is why we keep urging the people that we must keep these sentiments aside. They have not helped us in any way, and the country is sinking. This is the only country that we have. Nigerians must unite and take their country back. And when they do that, like I keep saying, in less than 365 days, this country will change tremendously in a positive direction. Because just like Peter Obi said, we have all it takes to make this country work right here with us. The problem is leadership. The problem is governance. And if we can fix that, if we can get that right, then we can turn this tide around. But until then, make I still enter town. Make I go get some ogbonge political news wey una go like. Why? Because of una. Now I dey here, so don't go away. Don't go.